Heartworm is a new survival horror game from publisher Dread XP, with development led by Vincent Adinolfi. I've been following the progress on this one for several years, and have seen a couple of demos come out in that time. Just by looking at a trailer for the game, you immediately get an idea of what it's going for. The game is clearly heavily influenced by mid to late 90s era survival horror. After spending some hands-on time with Heartworm, thanks to a review key, I'm happy to report that Heartworm is a well-crafted homage to the classics that defined the survival horror genre. Before we go too much further, I want to thank our Patreon supporters and channel members. If you're in a position to support Hidden Machine and want to help out, even $1 a month can go a really long way for us. Now, moving forward, this review will only contain footage of the opening areas of the game, both of which were accessible in the previously released demos. The basic premise of the game is that Sam is seeking a supernatural place that allows one to connect with the afterlife. It's a fantastical premise that is treated seriously, even though Sam acknowledges how hard it may be to believe. Sam has a melancholic demeanor and an obsession with death that drives her forward as she experiences the unexplainable. The game is full of environmental storytelling, but things are expanded on through documents and Sam's own internal monologue, which is delivered in a way that feels reminiscent of early survival horror without falling into any of the tropes that made some of those early games feel unintentionally humorous at times.
In that house, there's a room that can take you to the other side, to see the people that you've lost again. The thing is, no one who's gone has ever come back, and that's why I'm writing you.
In my opinion, the sound design in general is very strong, with detailed and immersive sound effects and a really well-composed score. While comparisons could be made to many other titles, for me, Heartworm was most reminiscent of the original PlayStation releases of Resident Evil and Silent Hill, with the general mechanics and feel of Resident Evil being combined with some of the presentation and psychological horror of Silent Hill. This really is classic 90s style survival horror through and through, and all of the hallmarks are here. You have a limited inventory with opportunities for item combination, a map that tracks your progression, safe rooms with item boxes, journal entries, and other documents, shambling enemies, unlockable outfits, and fixed camera angles. That said, the game does offer a few options for players who want a slightly modernized experience. Firstly, I'll mention that the game has an arachnophobia mode for those who'd like to avoid any spiders. In terms of visuals, you can choose between retro or higher resolution graphics. The game feels like it was built around tank controls, but there is an option for modern, camera-relative movement. If you've ever played a fixed camera game with movement like this, you might be familiar with how it can be a bit awkward at times. You'll be moving in one direction, the camera will change perspective, and suddenly your orientation will shift. It can take a little getting used to for new players, or even just when exploring a new environment, but that bit of disorientation is a big part of the overall feel of that first wave of 3D survival horror. Instead of a gun, Sam uses a camera to defend herself. You have two options here. One is a retro feel that is akin to Resident Evil or Silent Hill, and the other is a more modern feeling over-the-shoulder mode. Combat feels much like you'd expect, with the camera needing to be aimed at enemies like you would do with a gun. The flash on the camera can also be used as a temporary light source in darkened areas. Even with these modern options selected, Heartworm still feels accurate to the retro style. There's a certain pacing to the game that really taps into the vibe of those older titles. There are door animations, like in Resident Evil, that can be turned off in the options menu, but personally, I liked having them on. There's something about having those door animations turned on that kind of compartmentalizes things for me and helps me to reset as I try to enter the next area with a sharp mind. The game has its fair share of puzzles and key hunting, with a reasonable amount of backtracking required to progress. The puzzles aren't unforgiving, but they do require you to pay attention and apply some critical thought. If you're a fan of classic survival horror, there's a good chance that you'll appreciate Heartworm. The development team really seems to understand what it is that made those older games work, and uses that inspiration to create a compelling adventure that is full of creative imagery and strong atmosphere. If you're a survival horror fan who hasn't played any of those early PlayStation 1 titles, I would still recommend Heartworm, but don't go into it expecting anything like the recent Silent Hill 2 remake or the Resident Evil 2, 3, or 4 remakes. The focus in a game like this is more on puzzles and exploration, with an intentionally lessened focus on combat. While the choice is yours, more often than not, you should probably be avoiding enemies rather than engaging with them. The fixed camera and limited inventory in a game like this can be a bit frustrating at first, but I would urge newcomers to stick with it. Personally, I find games like this to be a series of challenges that feel nearly impossible at first. You're exploring a strange maze, there's uncertainty around every corner, and you have no idea if the items you're carrying are going to be enough to protect yourself if you run into a threat. Then, you pick up a key item or piece of information that you don't know how to put to use, and you keep blindly pushing forward. Then, something clicks. You solve a puzzle or clear a new path, you find an item or upgrade that gives you an advantage against the enemy, and what began as total uncertainty slowly starts to turn into a sense of progress and confidence. That whole process will repeat several times over throughout a game like this, and each time you complete the cycle, you're left feeling a little more prepared than you were the previous time. For me, that's the essence of survival horror, and by that criteria, I think that Heartworm is a formidable survival horror game. Heartworm is currently available on Steam, and if you're interested but not ready to commit, there is a free demo available as well. I say check it out.